what?
Handsome belt like Jay and I have. So when he wears clothes, it just be nice and crisp right around his waist, nice buckle. This waist so tiny.
Good afternoon, everyone. In virtual land, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Good. We'll get started in just a moment. Thank you all for being here. I'm going to put everyone on mute, okay?
All right. Good afternoon, Trey.
Thank you. All right. Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear us at home? Just a thumbs up? Yes?
No.
No. Like that commercial. Are you listening? Can you guys hear us at home?
I hear.
All right.
I hear you.
Thank you. Is that Mr. Clemens?
Yes.
I know this voice anywhere. How are you, sir?
It is I.
Good evening, everyone at home on the virtual and everyone that is here. We just want to say thank you for being here. This is our first attempt at a virtual hybrid type event, and we're hoping this is something that we can continue to do so that everybody can be connected with what's happening. My name is Kurt Mitchell. I am the District 4 Coordinator for the Office of Community Engagement. I'm here with a number of my colleagues, but I first want to introduce and say thank you to Captain Lilly for allowing us to be here in the facility, and he's got goals and he's going to step up.
So I'm going to try to talk loud in my preacher voice. So thank everybody. And this is not my precinct. This is our precinct because it belongs to Baltimore County. It doesn't belong to Orlando Lilly. So I'm just happy that we had an opportunity to have you here and host you here today. You're not worried about messing anything up because I'll make somebody clean it up tomorrow. So enjoy what you need to do today, and I'm going to get out your face and let the people who really know what they're doing do their thing.
Thank you, sir. So we're just going to thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Have a good evening. So we're going to move right down the agenda. We started a little late, but we want to make sure that we have everything ready for you. This evening is the Windsor Middle Road Project Community Meeting. We have some people to introduce, so let me just go ahead and get started with that. So Senator Charles B. Sidnor, District 44, State Senator. Councilman Julian Jones, we're hoping he's going to show. He may be en route, so we're hoping he's going to be here. Madam Administrative Officer, Ms. Stacy L. Rogers, here with us this evening as well. And we also have a number of Department of Public Works are here with us to answer some questions and give a presentation this evening. So let's just go ahead and get started. Ma'am, you want to say some things first, just to kind of kick us off, or?
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to stand in front of I just want to welcome you. Charles Sidnor has been elected official in 2015, the role as a senator since last January 2020. I know when I was first campaigning back in 2013, 2014, this was one of those projects that very loud and clear that the community wanted to be taken care of. So initially we tried to work with the prior administration and the county executive cabinets. The current county executive, I know when he first was running, they mentioned to them that this was something that was a priority for the community. Make certain that it was a priority, included it in the budget. All of our counties were and this is a culmination of work, and I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you, sir. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the presentation. Let's see if we can go ahead and pull that up real quick. Ma'am? Sure. Good evening.
Good evening, everyone. If you don't mind, I'll take off my mask so that our colleagues and community members who are online can hear me. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. We're so excited
Yes.
to be here. We're so excited to be here with you this evening. This is our second community meeting that we've had as we continue to move forward with this project. Just a little bit of background. I am the county administrative officer, and often when I'm in the community, people say, "Okay, well, what does that job do? What is it that the county administrative officer does?" And what my job is to oversee the day-to-day operations of county government. It's an awesome responsibility. I am very, very honored and pleased to be the very first African American to hold this role, and only the second woman in the 365-year history of our county. So I take that role very, very seriously. For the time that I am appointed, and as I say, we know, from a faith perspective, for such a time as this, in an appointed position to move projects forward. So on behalf of our county executive, John Olszewski, who regretfully he's unable to join us. He was able to join us for the first meeting, but in a meeting conflict, we are here to say Windsor Mill Road and sidewalk expansion is indeed a reality. We know that it has taken many, many years for this project to move forward. I live here in the area, the West Baltimore side of the county. I've traveled Windsor Mill for the 30 plus years I've been here, going into the city. One of my relatives lived just a little further down the road on Streamwood, up by the cemetery. So absolutely familiar with Windsor Mill Road, going all the way out to Old Court. I travel on a regular basis. But what we want you to know is that this project, while it took a while to get started, it is one of the highest priorities that we are working on behalf of the citizenry. Senator Sidnor and I have worked for many years together on community efforts. Chairman Jones, he did indicate he would try to make it here with us. Chairman Jones is aware that this is a critical project. We've been able to fund portions of the project to move forward. And now where we are is where you come in with respect to our needing to engage with each resident along Windsor Mill Road. We've divided the project up into 3 portions. So I want to manage expectations. It's still going to take some time to get done, but there are ways that we can expedite it based on your participation and engagement with the county. So the staff from the Department of Public Works, and we're pleased to say we have a new name, is the Department of Public Works and Transportation, DPWT. We've added that very recently. We passed legislation to change the name to emphasize our effort around transportation as well. So tonight we're going to talk about the project in totality, because the project really goes from Woodlawn Drive all the way up to Rolling Road along Windsor Mill. We've divided it in 3 segments, focusing first on the segment between Woodlawn Drive and Featherbed Lane. Why did we do that? Why did we start there as opposed to starting from Rolling Road and working back? Really, the reason had to do with the fact of the interface with the schools. We've got Featherbed Elementary there, and then we have the connecting street that goes over to the junior high, to Woodlawn Junior High. So we started, and the issue around the bus connectivity and the walkability coming down or up on Windsor Mill with respect to Woodlawn Drive. So logically, that was the most appropriate part of the 3 phases. We have money in the budget. The feasibility work, particularly for that first phase, was funded. We had money in the budget last year, but of course the pandemic slowed us down a little bit on the land acquisition piece. You'll hear more about tonight. And money in the budget to do our utility relocation. But as you'll hear from the staff, in order to make it all happen, we have to start with you, the residents, in terms of the land acquisition piece, because we can't do anything else until we get all of that done. But we want you to know this is real. We got the money to do the first couple pieces, and we're working with Senator Sidnor and with Chairman Jones when it comes to looking at other resources when we get ready for the construction phase. But the team has done a great job to lay out for you what phase 1, well, we'll look at the whole project, the 3 phases. Then we're going to focus on phase 1, which, as I said, is from Woodlawn Drive to Featherbed. And then we'll take some questions. So there are a lot of colleagues in the room. I also want to recognize outside the DPWT team will introduce themselves as they come up. But I want to introduce Deb Schindel. Deb works on the property management side. We work on things together in the county. It's like a wagon wheel approach. Deb has worked with us. Megan, did we introduce? We have Megan Young, who is also from Kirk's team from the Office of Community Engagement. Mrs. Victor Peoples, who's my right hand. God sent you. Savitra serves as my special assistant in everything that we work on. But I couldn't be more pleased to be here. So with respect to our DPWT team, I want to say that our acting director, who is Ms. DeAndrea Walker, regrettably could not be here this evening. She had unfortunately had death in her family and had to travel to New York. So she sends her regrets, but we are in good hands with the staff, and I'm just tickled pink to introduce our very new Deputy Director of DPWT, who's here with us tonight, Lauren Butler. Lauren comes to us from the state. We did some corporate ratings, so Lauren, first of all, welcome. She's only starting out. So at the end of the day, we are here ready to present to you all the project in totality, and then more detail about phase 1 and what we need you to do and what we need you to tell your neighbors. Okay? So I'll stop there. Any questions before I turn it over back to Kirk, and then we'll have our DPWT team come and walk through the presentation. Then we'll take some time. We'll have some time for questions. Okay? All right. Thank you. I'll turn it over to the team.
Come on up, DPWT.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Mayo. Thank you. I am very excited to be from Baltimore County. I am from Baltimore County. I spent my whole life in Baltimore County. I went to UMBC. I'm all about Baltimore County. So I'm excited to week 3 in Windsor Mill. I walked the job this afternoon with one of our staff to really understand the challenges along this road, and it's a needed project. I'm really happy that we are moving forward with it, and I'm joining Baltimore County now as it's moving forward, and we can really get this done. So I do want to second the comments that we're here for you. We want to hear from you. We want to work with you. We want to get this done. So the faster we can all work together, the sooner we get a sidewalk that will really help this community. Just walking along there, watching for puddles, dodging holes. It's wore my boots. And I had a safety vest on, but mostly the other people walking did not as I was walking that road. So I'm really happy that we're moving forward with this project. And I will turn it over to Angie and Raheem. Chairman Jones. I will turn it over to Chairman Jones.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah. I can make virtual world. I was gonna get online here. I was gonna get online at the Onyx Mills, planning for the master plan. I can do that at home. So then I said, no, I'm gonna ride here, go online on Onyx Mills, couldn't get it to work. It was a mess. Anyway, it's good to see everybody. And we are so happy from the Daniel Chesky administration for really putting the money forward to make this happen. It's been a long time coming. We're looking forward to that. So just coming here today, I saw somebody walking in the street coming home from work. He's walking right on the white line, walking home, and he had his bags on his back. You just think about, the people that got injured and killed on that street. Think about how important it is. This is something that's, I guess, finished going through this, but a couple of days ago, where we work hard to put in sidewalks, worked hard to get the money for all of these things. And what's been laying heavy on my mind since we were out the other day is how far do we let selfish individuals go who say, I don't want a sidewalk. I got to shovel snow. Meanwhile, we got people walking in the street. We got kids walking in the street. Question for me is, do we allow those people to hold up progress? Anyway, enough of that. We're happy to be here. We're going to get the road done. It's good to see everybody. It's good. Yeah.
The road is not. Well, we're hoping that is into.
Well, no, well, first of all, the transit part is MTA, that's state. We're county. We don't have jurisdiction over bus routes, but in our plan, that's not a part of the plan. You have to be divided. You have to be careful. This is something you'd like to share with community members under whose authority certain things are, because Chairman Jones and I were at another meeting, and folks were talking about the traffic on the road, and he reminded them that the road that they were referring to, which is Old Port, is state. We, the county, cannot place traffic calming, or in other words, speed bumps on a state road. The state would have to come in and do that. So in this instance, no, the project that we're working on does not, you will not hear anything about a bus route on going up Windsor Mill. Our job is to address sidewalks that have been requested, but in addition to the sidewalks, because we're doing this work, it's time to do infrastructural work as well. Because if we want to do this work, we need to address the road and all of that rainwater runoff and the sewer runoff part of it. That is the benefit of this project you will hear about, but no bus route. Not in our jurisdiction.
And with the improvement of the road, would not negate state coming back for a bus route.
The state would have to come to you all and have a community meetings, just like we're doing. The state, that would be a state issue that Senator Sidnor could weigh in on that, Chairman Jones could weigh in, but when they do the bus route configurations, all of those kinds of processes are supposed to have I've worked at the state, Lauren has worked at the state, a community engagement part to it. That is something that is required when you're working on community kinds of projects. Now, sometimes, you'll see the little notices in the paper or you may hear about it, but that's a standard part of government. Emails away.
So I did that. Yeah, that's what you did.
Yeah, well, we just say to you, with the community meeting, going forward, we will be formally communicating with everyone who lives on Windsorville because we're holding a number of meetings to get people to come out. But we'll be communicating in writing because clearly the county has everyone's addresses because of the property tax. We had the addresses on it. So that's going to be a part that we have to. We're doing these because we want people to see the big vision and also to say, hey, we're doing this. And we're asking all of you to go back and tell your neighbors. We did say that at the last meeting. If your neighbors don't know, please get the word out. Because while we try to communicate and we try to promote it through our means of communication, Chairman Jones said, I get his email. That's how I knew there were two events tonight, Chairman Jones, when I looked at the emails that you sent. So sometimes our efforts don't go as far and wide as people who live right in the community who can say, hey, I went to this meeting. The county asked us to tell you, did you know about it? So your neighbor is doing exactly what we're asking neighbors to do. But everybody will get a letter about it as we move forward. Ownership of the property. I didn't pick up that first part, but I think some of it will be answered for you, some of your questions. So why don't we do the presentation and then we'll get to some of those. I think I heard you say who's persistent if I did. Hear the first part. And forgive me, I ears over 60 don't work quite as well. I think that's to get some new jewelry to help that.
Hello.
Didn't know
Hello?
No.
Well,
Can I just check for a second?
some of
Hello?
what if you're asking will be addressed.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. Go ahead.
Someone here was trying to ask a question.
I just have a suggestion. Good evening, everyone. This is Alethea McCaskill. I just have a suggestion for those who are not at the mic. We really can't hear what the questions are, and to alleviate some of the redundancy that some of us may have virtually as you're asking the questions, could I just suggest that whoever's at the mic kind of repeat what they say so we can hear, because we can't hear everything that's going on in the room.
Sure. And thank you.
We can type them in the chat.
Yeah.
To try to
Yeah.
do both parts because Kirk can, or whomever speaking can repeat them, but we can, speech is sitting right there at the laptop. We can type them in the chat so you can see them.
Yeah.
If everybody can see the chat, the only people who are calling in wouldn't be able to.
That's right.
Thank you. I
Thank you
appreciate
for that suggestion. This is our first opportunity to do something hybrid, so we're working out all of the kinks as we go. So thank you for that.
Yeah, perfect. Thank
Yeah,
you.
we appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Sure. So we're going to go ahead and begin with our presentation part of the evening. So we're going to have DPWT go ahead and get started. They'll introduce themselves, and then we'll go ahead and get started with the presentation.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Those online?
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. My name is Angelica Daniel. I work in the Bureau of Engineering Construction of DPW in the Highway Design section. I'm here with my chief, Raheem Family, and he's the chief of Highway Design. So I hope you guys can all view the PowerPoint presentation that we have. Can you all see the first screen that says background?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
So-
we can.
Okay, great. So as you all have heard from my colleagues that this project has been in the works for a very long period of time. We heard the request from all the constituents and we began engineering design back in 2016. And we also held a public meeting in September. We received comments from the public and incorporated them into our design. Our final design is now 100% complete, and now we're entering the land acquisition phase. As AO said, that this is part of a three-phase project. This current project is from Woodlawn Drive to Featherbed Lane. Our second phase is from Featherbed Lane to Windsor Boulevard, and the third phase is Windsor Boulevard to Rolling Road. This slide right here is an aerial photo that just shows the different phases with their corresponding length and cost and time period for project duration. So as you can see for phase one, we approximate that it'll take 6 to 7 years, but we've already done some of that work. Right now, as I said, we are entering the property acquisition phase, and we estimate that that'll take about 2 to 3 years, and then after that, we have to do utility relocations. And after that, we will go into the construction of the project. For the proposed improvements for phase one, as you can see on a typical section, the existing roadway is now a total of 22 feet. That's 11 feet of either side of the center line. And we'll be widening that 7 feet on either side. So you'll have 18-foot lanes, a total of 36 for the total roadway width. And then we're incorporating curb gutter and 5-foot sidewalk on either side. The sidewalk will be right up against the curb. And then we allow 4.5 feet for utility relocations to relocate the utility poles where the rising plants are located and for some tie-ins. The project also includes a water main replacement, and we also have storm drain locations because most of the roadway is open section. That means that there's no curb on either side. So when you incorporate curb, you have to put a storm drain system to capture the water to move to an outflow. Here you'll see a 3D rendering of what the proposed roadway will look like. So on one side, you see the existing road. On the other side, you'll see a 36-foot roadway with the sidewalk, curb, and gutter. Of course, there'll also be like driveway improvements and tie-ins. So as far as the impacts go, there are approximately 70 properties that will be affected. As I said, there is a 7 foot of widening on either side with a 5-foot sidewalk. And the 4.5 foot is for grading tie-ins and utility relocations. There will be some impacts during construction, which will be the maintenance of traffic as construction is ongoing. Traffic will be maintained on the roadway as it is today, one way in each direction. However, like for driveway tie-ins, you may be inconvenienced during some periods, but during that time, the construction inspectors will let you know whether or not there'll be some inconveniences, and they'll, if they need to, they'll put a still plate over the driveway so that you can get back and forth to your residence. One way in each direction.
No, one way. Okay, we are gonna try to maintain traffic at least one way during the daytime when they're constructing. Like, for example, if they're working on one side of the road, the other side is gonna be maintained so that there's always one way maintained.
So this is the timeline. As we stated, engineering is already complete. We're in the land acquisition phase. Will take 2 to 3 years. Utility relocations will take the same time. Final engineering is just us getting together all the environmental permits that are needed for construction. And then construction will take approximately 2 years.
Can I interject?
Sure.
So you see where it says 2 to 3 years of land acquisition? That's where we're coming to you all saying, it doesn't necessarily have to take 2 to 3 years. We estimate that because we have 70 residents to work with. But if everyone comes on board, because we were told, although we can't find it, that there was a petition about this roadway. But if people come forward and we can do that expeditiously, working with the county about your portion of the property, and it's not significant amounts of property, because you see the widening in terms of the acquisition of land that's needed that the county will compensate you for, is a small portion of land in the front of properties to be able to have that sidewalk space. Because as you saw on the actual design and then the rendition, you have to have some land to be able to do the sidewalks, and some land, your property lines run right out to where the road is. The other thing is we gotta move the utilities. The utilities right now run along the road. So to do the sidewalks, you gotta move the utility poles. And we have to work with Verizon and BGE to make that utility movement, which is the third part. But we can cut down this time from the 2 to 3 years it's there for land acquisition. That's always built in based on the number of people. So that's why we're saying this is something that we know that the community was interested in. And now we got the first phase is done. We got to do the land acquisition before we can do anything else. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Done. What area? These photos, actual photos of what it will look like. So that way we can actually stick instead of like, we're looking at.
So when the rendering was so can you take
Show what, how it will down, deal with the curve.
Can you repeat the question?
If you go to page 3 of the presentation, it'll show the existing road and then the new rendering right next to it.
This is a portion of the road. That's a portion of the road that is from 7-11. And one of the things that you will notice is that on this portion of the road, there is no shrubbery at all, because further down, the acquisition looks like it's going to be almost 22 feet of from property that is below Royal Court, in order to make that a uniform.
Oh, yeah.
For shrubbery that is not there.
Find that it's property by property specific as we follow the road, and it's also both sides of the road. So when you see the 22 feet, it's not 22 feet into one person's side, we're going both ways. The other thing,
So would you explain that if it's not that way, because the way it was initially explained when the project came out in 2006, it was told that it would be 22 feet on each side.
so there in a lot of the cases, I walked it a couple hours ago, there isn't 22 feet in some of those cases, we would be into somebody's bedroom. So they can't go 22 feet in both directions. It's walking coming in interstate.
Okay, well, in that case, is there any way you can show me, because from your rendering here, at this point, you're looking at, you're saying 12, from one of the slides, you're saying, 12 feet.
So can you and I look at the plans and maybe?
Yeah, I'm supposed to meeting, we have several.
Okay, so we have actual plans here that run along the road.
Right.
But just to be clear, the entire project could be 22 feet on either side. The maximum that of the expansion is 22. The 7 feet that are needed for sidewalks that don't exist now is where this comes into property acquisition. This isn't about needing significant, where we're needing somebody's house or anything like that. It's small parcels of land. And our next presenter is going to talk to you about that one.
Okay, yes, because I'm not understanding when you're saying a maximum of 7 feet of road widening, okay? 7 feet of road widening, then you're coming back for 5, almost, 5 feet of sidewalk, and the 4 feet of a tie-in.
All this is included in that 17 feet.
That's included in the 7 feet, you're
Yeah.
saying?
So
But
basically,
some of it's overlap.
yeah, basically what it is, a typical road is about 22 feet wide. It depends. I mean, some places it's like 11, some places 12. But generally speaking, from the existing center line, there is 11 foot on either side. We want to make it 18 feet on either side. Therefore, we need 7 foot of widening of the road. On top of that, we need another 5 feet to put the sidewalk, that makes it 12. And then about 4.5 to 5 feet for grading and utility relocation, that makes it 17. So the most we're gonna take is 17 feet from the existing edge of the road.
That will depend
On either
site by
side.
site, because as you walk down this road right now, some of it has sidewalks on some of the side, that's gonna be redone, because a lot of those sidewalks have a utility pole in the center of the sidewalk. So that's in part of this, so it depends on which section you're talking about, so we can look at the plans for your specific section. The other thing to keep in mind is as you walk down there, some of the properties, you have driveways like this, some of them you have driveways like this. So as we move a sidewalk over, you can't have your driveway go straight up and down. So there's work shown on the plans to work with that property and that driveway. So in some properties, it will go further, but that's because we need to smooth out the driveway. The driveway still belongs to the homeowner. It'll just get fixed as part of this project, so you'll be able to get into it and not, scale it out.
When you say leave then, adding the lighting, so with that as well, is that going to be part of this project as well?
We have a whole other project on that in terms of lighting efficiency. A portion is with DPWT, and the other portion is with our, I think it's environmental protection services. But we have a county-wide project that we're working on. So when, and we're working with BGE, because some utility poles belong to BGE and some utility poles belong to the county. This is all education for all of us. But BGE's priority is definitely to address more efficient lighting in the lighting itself, but also in utility utilization. Something that we've learned in working on that project, that's one of the largest draws of energy, utility. It's street lighting for the county and for BGE. So in that project, as we are working on this project, we have to work with BGE, we have to work with Verizon, and so in doing that, quite naturally, they will do upgrades.
So who designs the lighting?
I'm sorry,
So who would be designing the lighting?
So it's
PG
every place.
PG does. But if you have concerns about lighting in your house or whatever, they can put shield in the back of it to cover.
BGE owns and now most roadways like that is BGE, but BGE is designing, again, as a part of this project, there are partners. So we can get information on what the lighting would look like, but literally that step after this. We do have monies in the budget to do it, but once we get to that phase, that part will brief the community as well. We're now to the utility relocation part, because that's when, we're gonna have to do some land, issues about where the lights are going to be, where poles are going to move. But we can't get there until we get to land acquisition. And it would be BGE.
All right, so let's see if you guys are doing a fantastic job, such an easy question, but we gotta get through the presentation. So, let's just continue where we are. Yep, just a couple more and then we'll open up.
Our engineering design was 300,000. We have already funded the budget for land acquisition and also utility relocations. Final design and engineering will be about 200K, and we estimate that construction will be 4 million for a total cost of 6.5 million for this project. So the next steps, as I said, is land acquisition, and we are in the process of putting plats together. The plats will take approximately 3 to 6 months to be prepared, and then they'll be handed off to our real estate compliance. And we have here Michelle to speak on that.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michelle. Can you hear me, everyone online?
Just
barely?
we can hear you.
Good, thank you. Good evening. My name is Michelle Enrico. Don't worry, I don't memorize that, but real estate compliant. And I'm sorry. Like DPWP just stated, once everything is complete on their end, it comes to real estate compliance for acquisition. Real estate compliance will contact each impacted owner, schedule an appraisal. That'll be the first letter from us. You will receive a letter from our department head saying that Baltimore County is coming through to do the sidewalk, and we would like you to contact us so you can be available so we can come out and appraise the land. The appraisal is going to establish contributory value. And that's a little bit of what we were talking about with the 7 feet. So what contributory value is, it is not fair market value. It is a value placed on land and its best use. So the 7 feet in front of your homes, its best use is to support the road. And in supporting the road, we have a sidewalk. So that is how the land will be valued, and there will be percentages coming off just because, for that 7 feet as a whole, it would not affect your property value. It will not affect your property value. So the contributory value is an amount that we hope does not insult you when you first see it. But that's why we hope that you're out there with the appraisal and just give an idea. We understand, also point out to the appraiser that you have shrubs. I know some of you mentioned shrubs, decorations around your mailboxes, that sort of thing. If anything looks like it is going to be affected, please let the appraiser know so we can either get something in the works to make sure we get it to the DPWT to accommodate, or if we, just need to make different arrangements. After the appraisal is complete, that will probably take a few weeks, probably 4 to 6 weeks. Once the appraisal is complete, you will receive a monetary offer from us. It will be a letter from real estate compliance. Based on the appraisal, we are offering you this amount for the road frontage. Everyone's road frontage is going to be completely different. Although these lines are straight property lines, that's not how theirs works. So what's going to happen is your neighbor, their 7 feet, may affect them more than your 7 feet affects you, which affects the monetary value. Not everyone is going to get the same amount of money. And we will not discuss what your neighbors are getting with you, only with your neighbors. So, when you receive that monetary letter, that's when. So we hope that you give us a call back and say, yes, I'm in agreement. I would like to move forward, or you write back and say, no, I don't agree with this amount. We negotiate, we go back and forth, we hopefully come to an agreement. The whole point of this is to come to an agreement. There are situations where real estate compliance cannot reach an agreement with a property owner for various reasons. Sometimes it's above our authority. Other times it's something that has nothing to do with the paperwork and everything to do with the land itself. So, you know, in that case, the negotiations would continue. But unfortunately, in some cases, we have to assign your property to the assistant county attorney. That is not an adversarial meeting. The letter will say assistant county attorney, but it is still a negotiation. It is not a threat in any way. It's just what we can do in our office. We've reached it, but we are in the hopes of reaching an agreement at our level, which will help the project move faster than the 2 to 3 years. Once you are in agreement, you'll be asked to sign a deed of easement and an IRS form called a W-9. This form will require your social security number or federal identification number. The state requires Baltimore County to keep on file every social security number involved with a real estate transaction for tax purposes. It is our checks and balances. During tax time, you will receive an addendum to that W-9, basically saying Baltimore County informed us that you received this amount of money for this real estate transaction. And you will have to, I guess, speak to a tax professional and they can help you file that. For the most part, that is it. I know it sounds quick and easy, but we know it is not going to be. And any questions that you have ahead of time for us before we get to you is really encouraged, because we want to get this done as fast as possible. And my phase, the real estate compliance phase, is always the longest phase, just because of the negotiation and the back end, the back and forth to get agreements done. Yes, and that's.
If anyone has any questions, we have an email set up. For those of you online, if you have any questions regarding the project after this meeting, or if something comes up and you remember you have a question, you can always email at windsormill@baltimorecountymaryland.gov or give us a call. Again, my name is Angelica Daniel and my chief is Raheem Family. Give us a call at 887-3739.
Well, and there are some questions on that as well. So,
Question, the county is going to incorporate the value of the shrubbery.
Okay, the question was for everyone to hear. She wanted to find out if the shrubbery that may be in the, that our easement is encroaching on, will be accounted for as in the appraisal or replaced. And the answer is whatever works. So what happens is if we can safely relocate your shrubbery temporarily, if it is okay to burl that back, we will try that. If not, if it is some special shrubbery, you know, that needs to be taken care of, then yes, the appraisal will put in information. But if it is something, we've had it to where it's, you know, there was an exotic trees this woman had, and they couldn't be replaced. They had to be flown in. So what we had to do was just kind of work around the tree, but that didn't work. So what actually happened was the property owner provided us with a estimate of how much it would cost to replace the tree, and we did that. And that was added into the appraisal. So it may not be contributory value, but it may garner administrative value, if that makes sense, to satisfy, you know, the property owner. But yes, after projects, everything should be left in good or better condition once the county comes through. No, I do not. Right now, as Angelica said, the right-of-way plats are still being drawn. And once those right-of-way plats are done, they will be appraised. And each right-of-way plat will be specific to just your property. And you will receive a letter with that right-of-way plat asking for an appraisal, asking for us, you know, if you would allow us to come up and appraise your property. So we don't have.
So we have some online questions here. The first one is from Carrie, it looks like, and it says, in terms of traffic, how will this project be impacted by the Triple Bridge project? Triple Bridge project?
Is the Beltway and 70. It should have nothing to do.
Okay.
Triple Bridge, the triple overpasses at Route 70 in the Beltway, they're gonna be redoing that, just to have nothing.
Good. Thank you, sir. All right, next question is from, down a little bit. Yeah. Carrie, in terms of traffic. Okay, so you did, okay, I'm sorry. From Ms. Mildred, oh, tricky here. Sorry, guys, I'm just going down. So the answer, Joe. Got some carpet, okay? There we go. This one is from Mr. Plymouth. Mr. Plymouth wants to know the total quality, I think it's total quality leaves a lot to be desired as the room is low. Telling us we're not. Okay, thank you, Mr. Plymouth. Yeah, we're working it out, brother. We don't have that deep, bearing voice like you do, but we're doing the best we can. I'll get a mic the next time with you. Okay, let's see. Slides be available. Someone wants to know, will slides be available on the Baltimore County website? I can make those available. DPWT already has moved them over to me to have them so we can make them available.
Anyone who could log in today, we have everybody email address because people in the room have them in their hands.
So just if you didn't hear, Madam AO said that anybody that logged on online, we have your email addresses. We'll make sure you get those because everybody here has one. Okay. All right.
Hand raised, Miss McCoskey.
All the way up.
Hand raised.
Oh, there she is. Okay.
And then Delegate Brooks had his hand raised afterwards.
Okay.
Trying to unmute him.
Yeah, if you can unmute, if you can hear me, please unmute and ask your question now. There you go.
Okay, this is Brooks. Are you going to do anything to inform the impacted property owners of their Fifth Amendment rights? You know, because that I'm sure there's going to probably be some pushback and seizing of private property for public use. It can be done as long as there's just compensation. So I think it would probably be good to at least alert or inform the people of what those rights are. Thanks.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thanks for anybody for Fifth Amendment rights.
as far as the Fifth Amendment right, I'm not sure how that ties into this. But as far as real estate compliance, if we cannot come to an agreement, then, you know, we just kind of go back to the drawing board. This doesn't work unless we work together. So, you know, we'll just be in negotiations until it gets done, but it won't get done unless we all work together and, you know, collaboratively try to get into agreement with each other.
Okay. And I guess, but there would be a cutoff point, you know, because I guess, you know, oftentimes, you know, some people are going to try to the most that they can out, you know, and be a little bit hard to work with. So I'm sure that you do have a cutoff point, would you not?
A cutoff point on
Negotiating.
It really transfers to the office of the county attorney. If it does go to that far, let's say if it's one or two cases, then maybe the office of the county attorney may do some type of judicial hearing of some sort to get the agreement to move forward if it's just a few people holding out. But as far as not agreeing or being difficult or anything like that, we're kind of not looking at it as someone to be difficult. We're just looking at it as someone who just wants to be satisfied in their agreement, and we will try everything to undo an impasse of any kind.
Okay, all right. Hey, thanks very much.
And thank you for the question.
Clear on
Sure.
what we're talking about in terms of the Fifth Amendment. And thank you, Senator Sidnor, for pulling it up just like that. This is the provision that talks about your property, that property cannot be taken, if you will, for public use without just compensation. That's the statement. It's about the compensation. And so that's what real estate compliance will work with each and every property owner around the values of their property in terms of what is considered just compensation. You know, is it reasonable? But the issue at hand, if they are not able to come to an agreement on what is defined as just compensation, real estate compliance transfers the case to the county's Office of Law. The Office of Law continues to try to negotiate what that just compensation is, which is in compliance with the Fifth Amendment. But at some point, we have to say, are we going forward or we're not going forward? This is reasonable compensation. And that's where the part comes in to say that property cannot be taken without just compensation. So the discussions between real estate compliance and the Office of Law would always take into consideration what is just compensation. And then these transactions have to all come to the county council.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Ms. Alethea.
Well, no, she didn't get a chance to.
Oh, okay. All right. Any more questions online?
Yeah, she's ready now. She's unmuted. Miss Alethea.
Oh, Ms. Alethea, you still there?
You know I am.
I know you are. I know you are.
Listen, I might have missed it, and you can tell me I missed it and tune in some other way. But for those persons who properties are involved in this project, are they individually notified about the whole project? Okay. Then the second thing is, will this, can you hear me? I froze.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, will this project be put on the DPWT website so that we can refer back to it as far as the phases and the design plans and all that kind of good stuff?
So she's asking about that three-part that we talked about earlier, the 3 phases, will it be a place where they can go? Yes. So yes. Yes, thank you. Can you hear us? I don't see.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. It will be.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
We collected over 1,500 to get this project started. When cabinet, he was the county executive, and he had everything, and I think the reverend still has of everything you're talking about. We had looked at his plan, workers, the design. I believe he still has that. Reverend Burns. Well, we will, make contact because at the last meeting, someone made that statement. And so we went back to the county to see if those records were there, because that would be very helpful in terms of, these are the individuals who indicated that they wanted to move forward, and then we contact them, and we would be able to say that. But the land records are not a problem, because the county has a land records in the plat. Our issue, we wanted the petition. We wanted the people who were on the petition, but the county, no one in the county was able to find that, because we went back after our last meeting to search for them. But it was presented to the county. Well, I hope somebody can So it's a lot of information. Thank you for that. We will contact, we actually contact members, because we were going to try to hold this session at the church, but the church is not open to the public as of yet. But we will follow up. So we follow up, and we can just do that, because we were looking for that. We were looking for those records. So then that gives us a starting point to say, we're writing to say, we have those, because that would expedite this part of the land acquisition part, so it won't take us 3 days. We were first elected. We came to the meeting. Land acquisition was explained, and it went all the way to the court. If it has to go into court, what happens when you have people that don't get land, all of that. So it's a lot of good information that we tried to get out to the county residents, and we had a lot more people that come out. They really come out, but we were given the task of notifying them. It wasn't just the residents on Windsor Mill, it was the community. Well, we're asking, we're picking that ball up from the former administration. We made sure, once I was briefed on this project, and Senator Sidmore came in and talked with the county executive and this project was given to me. Chairman Jones talked to me about this project, and we've been pushing this project ever since we had those conversations. The first thing was to get the money in the budget to do the next phases, and we have the money in the budget. Council approved the budget last year. The council approved the budget this year. We have the monies in there for land acquisition, and we have the monies in there already for the relocation of the utilities, money in the budget. So we will follow up to see if we can get that petition, because we've been searching for a copy of the petition. We can't find it in county records, but we'll go back to Reverend Burns to get a copy, because that'll help us expedite it, so we don't have to spend that 2 to 3 years that they're talking about in the land acquisition part. And if by chance there are individuals that we get to an impasse with the real estate compliance,
then the Office of Law will work with those individuals as well. But you're right, in worst case scenario, there was someone that just did not want to go. In that particular case of the land acquisition could be handled through Office of Law. We hope that this is not the case, but that's what the whole notion of the value of the land and whether individuals want to move forward or not. We're prayerful that we will have to take that step. But you're right, that is a provision in the law. I'm just remembering. We also, when each home went for milk, we asked them for my land acquisition. Still has that. There's been some.
I already got it. Me and her been grabbing since she came in. She came right over to me. Back at such and such, we got 15. So we have. Yeah. Yeah. No, I got it. Let's get one from online and then we'll come back to it. Thank you, Madam Mayor. One of the questions here is from Scott. Scott wants to know, do you need 100% acceptance? Is there an option for bypassing some property?
You have to have all of the properties to align the road. I mean,
You can't go around. No. No, we need all 100% of everybody on board with the plan. You had a question.
Initiative that Reverend Burr did bring forward, designing work. Your opinion, what was not something that they wanted to move forward with because of some of the properties that were there. We did understand the safety point. People suggested that when concerned about the acquisition. So to understand that this is a project that and I've been at my property initially.
Can anyone turn the volume up?
With my 30 years of
Let me work on that right now. Thank you.
My 30 years of hedges that I've grown around my property, it's like in the period of Florida. When it's time, to weigh all of the time and effort that I have put in it over of the community. So I think you are going to have other neighbors who are concerned about their property being taken. If I can be compensated and I can have a viable way that I'm going to be made whole, the investment of my time, love, onto my property that affords me profit, I can move forward with it. Exactly where I am, that I want to be fully made whole with of my pages as well as my
really much hard. But it was also survey done. Most of the people, it was very few people that did not want. That was a part of the survey in writing. Signature. Well, that was expensive, and I think people, yeah, I was definitely, and they did that. They said we wanted to have many neighbors. So, with this project. So we didn't just verbally do it. We got signatures. So this is maybe a handful don't want it, but most of the people do want it because we've had almost 7 deaths on this road, and not counting the injuries that we've had on this road from people walking up. And we even had the names that died from this. So we know, and the people know, as soon as we even went to the school, elementary school, and we got the principal to come and work with us. And she was in agreement that this project has to happen because you have school children that have to walk this road. They don't take bus service because they're out of, they're in every city. So we know we did a lot of work in the community to make sure that this was something that we really needed and that the community was doing. And Everett Burns, he has.
So we have a, thank you for that. So we have a question from online. I see. Delegate Brooks. Okay, so he says here, will the county be advocating for any special tax treatment on this forced sale? From Delegate Brooks.
I don't understand the question. What would be a special tax treatment?
Delegate Brooks, can you hear me, sir? Can you unmute?
Yes, I can.
Could you clarify the question for us, please, or expand on it?
Oh, sure. Yeah, anytime there's a sale of an asset, then there normally you would come up with a gain or loss. And in this case, because of appreciation, I think probably there would be a capital gain. And my question was whether or not the county would be advocating for any special tax treatment on that gain. That's all.
Delegate Brooks, we'll take that back to the Office of Law and to the finance team. That is not something that is in our, in the planning part of this project, but we're happy to take it back. Let's talk offline a little further so I can articulate specifically what you're referring to, or even example. We can take that back to the county attorney and the budget and finance team.
Okay. Sounds like a winner. Thanks, Madam CEO.
I'll call you.
Thank you, sir.
Sure. You're welcome.
All right. Questions anymore? Because it looks like we're coming to a close here. Okay. Any more questions online? We just want to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to be heard that want to be heard. Don't have any more questions online. Any more questions in person? Anybody with anything?
Mr. Mitchell?
Yes, sir. Mr. Clement.
Mr. Mitchell, I have one question. It might have been discussed, but I didn't quite hear it. What happens if you are offering to acquire a portion of a property and you find out that that is a ground rent, that it's not in fee, but it's ground rent? Have you encountered in a situation like that?
You kind of broke up a little bit. You said, say that again for me, please, sir. I hate to ask you, but we just want to be clear about it.
In certain parts of the county and city, there are certain properties where the owners are paying ground rent.
Ground rent, okay.
Ground rent. It's likely, but it's probable that you might encounter one or more properties where someone is actually paying ground rent. In that case, you go to the holder of the ground rather than the homeowner. Have you guys encountered anything like that in the past?
Yes.
That's a good point. Hold on for one question.
Yes, real estate compliance has across that in the past several times for large projects like this with just small areas. We have a title attorney in our office who handles contacting the ground rent owner.
Okay.
The paperwork that they would sign to authorize us to move forward is the verbiage is a little bit different, but it's about the same. But yes, we have come across that, and that should not hold us back from getting signed agreement.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. Last question, anyone? online or in person? You're smiling. You almost had your hands up. And beautiful too. So, right. All right, my friends. So we're going to go ahead and give this some closing here. Madam Mayor, we're going to give us an opportunity to close things.
So again, we want to thank you all for coming out. Teacher, can you pull up the last page again for our students to see the email address? We have set up a special email address for the project. So if questions come up, please email questions to us at windsorvilleproject@baltimorecounty.gov, because that box is dedicated to this project. And what we're going to do, we're going to take back some of the questions from tonight. We're definitely going to follow up and see if Reverend Burns has the document you're talking about, because that would help us. We are going to do, there's another session, teacher, when is it? Not scheduled yet, but we're scheduled to have another session. We will advertise it. Chairman Jones is a part of our advertising machine. I get a lot of my information from Chairman Jones's emails that come out. Senator Fedor is continuing to help us promote that we want residents to know, because we have the ability to begin to move forward as soon as the plat designs are done. And Lauren, you said that's about 2 to 3 months off. We're working on the plat designs, but if we know who's ready to go, who's like, once the plat design's ready, if we have the group ready to go, because we still have to go through, party for real estate compliance, and then we have to take all of the land acquisition projects to council. If you listen to county council online, you'll hear us often bringing projects, land acquisition projects for various things, for parks, for all kinds of things. And we have to do land acquisition, all 70 individuals on phase 1, and we want to immediately turn around and start the land acquisition process for phase 2, while we continue to work toward the next phase, which would be the utility relocation. We can't do utility relocation until we are ready and set with the land acquisition. So, yes, ma'am?
Baltimore County is responsible.
Say one more time. I didn't hear the last part.
Is Baltimore County responsible for the Verizon or
Portion. We pay percentage of it and.
Okay, this is what I'm doing, like stormwater that we put in, talk about the curb and gutter, the extra rainwater that's gonna we want it. That's the county. BG&E owns the electric, so there's a coordination with them. We would take part, some of it's theirs, what is happening. Same thing happens with Verizon or the gas when somebody else owns it. Why that takes some time, there's some coordination back and forth on whose it is and what portion, but it's not on the residents, it's when utilities and the government.
And that money is already approved in the budget. We put the monies associated with $1 million associated with phase 1 utility relocation. The county council approved it. For this 22 budget, and then we'll keep working on the next phase, putting money in each of our budgets. We'll pose it, and the county council, of course, approves the county's budget. But this project is on track each year for us to fund a portion of what's the next portion. Once we get past those two pieces, the biggest part is construction. And as your handout shows, the construction will take about 2 years. But the quicker we get through the land acquisition piece, then we can move further very personalized kind of process with each property owner in terms of looking at the land plat to see how much, what the value of the property is, what the value of your property, if it impacts your hedges, and that's what real estate compliance does.
And I did notice that the young lady said that when the plat will be available to the homeowner. Okay, so there is no way that there is a face-to-face interaction. You mail out the plat, and there's the offer, so no one comes out first. And then what to expect, you'll receive letter from the appraiser of your plan asking to schedule a time that's for you all to meet. And then after that, you will receive a letter and we contact the negotiations. Please contact me. Come out with engineers, what we can have measurements. Now, if I can run out to the center of the yellow line and stand real quick and you hold the other end and we measure out that 7 feet, that's what happens in real estate. You're kind of solid bridge between the property owners and DPW. So my question is, does this not come out? It's sort of like impersonal. Yes, you take my land, and no one.
No, she's saying,
she did clarify that. So I'm saying that's a good thing because the other way that you just get the letter. So it's up.
Well, let me just say that, it should be noted that when they talk about moving utilities, in a lot of cases, they talk about adding or rebuilding new utilities. Because we are already using this project to alleviate some, residents flooding. They had a serious problem with flooding. The utilities that's been there for God only knows how long and was inadequate, not working properly. But the fact of the matter is, since we're going to do this job, we are able to get a head start on this job by replacing the utilities. And that's something that may not have otherwise been done had it not been for this job. So a lot of stuff is going to be improved, not just moving, but improving.
like we were talking about the lights, BGE has that effort going on in the county now. So of course, when we go to negotiate, Department of Public Works and Transportation go to negotiate and interface with them about the utility relocation for those streetlights, then that will automatically be a part of it because they wouldn't just put the same, they will put the energy efficient lights because they're doing that elsewhere. Like I said, I was shocked to learn that that is one of the biggest drivers in terms of utility costs. And Lauren was just sharing with me that state highways is like the fourth largest expense for them in their budget. So it behooves us to begin to change over the streetlights, which is something that the county executive, once we got that news, we're like, yeah, we need to do this.
So the lighting design of the poles, would that be something that the residents, they would have some input in?
Again, Lauren indicated that that's a DPD side. We're happy since we're going to partner with them to bring them into the conversation. But they own the pole. They own the. Yes, and when we talk with DPD, they prefer to vote under. Yep, that's the option as well. It's not trying to have poles and they want to do underground.
Which is going to, I mean, that's,
Underground anyway. Well, what saves from having to, when you lose a pole?
at the end of the day, Windsor Mill Road is going to be safer, and it's going to look better.
Yeah.
And if it looks better, it's going to increase your property value more so than.
Is there used to be a time that, the old street lighting, had little poles with the English type of lighting.
Like Liberty Road redesign.
Yes, those type of things were.
And see, that project was a part of a state-funded streetscape project to put in the lights that look like that. But again, it may be the case that BGE would decide to go underground, because when we say relocate, that's not necessarily the case that they'll just move a pole. They may decide that, like on some parts of that, the streets, where they could go underground. But see, that's why we say we have to partner with BGE. But there is room to have that communication, just like we're trying to communicate where we are in the project. When we get to that phase, which is after the land acquisition phase, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to see this project through to completion. You know, it's going to take a while, but phase one, we could move expeditiously if we could get, you know, that first 70 homeowners to move forward with land acquisition. But that's what we wanted to let you know, that the project is active and live. We've seen fit, that the county council has supported us in putting the money in the budget for these next two phases. And we want to spend the money, you know, get, you know, people signed up to go through the land acquisition piece. And then that way we can move the project further along. Wherever along the way we can, you know, expedite the project where we don't have to take the full 3 years for land acquisition of 70 homes, it gets us closer to construction. Yes, sir.
I just want to close the comment. We've been in this area for Windsor every day for the project. And because I had a friend saying, I live on Wood is 7-11. On a truck. They were different. Walk. You know, go to council. I said, my wife called her in the next couple of days. At that time, I had a blue truck. She said, all the thing I know was a blue truck. I told her, oh, I mean, you know, that needed to be done.
Yeah.
So,
And when it was presented to me and the county executive said, I want you to move this project forward, I immediately understood the significance. So we're here to say we're moving this project forward because it is something that is sorely needed in the community. And we wanted to come to fruition. Thank you all for coming out. Nice to meet those of you I haven't met.
yeah.
Plans in the back, if anybody wants to. Anybody wants to look at their specific site or specific section of road, we have plans in the back, we can talk about.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.